Welcome, everyone, to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and today we have a special event. We're teaching IEP goal writing for parents and teachers. We're live. We're going to be taking questions. If at any point in time you have questions, please go to www.specialeducationinnercircle.com and you'll be able to get your questions answered. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in and get started with what we need to really think about when it comes to designing an IEP that meets a child's needs. Now, I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been in the field professionally for over 20 years. I'm a special needs sibling. I know what it's like to live in the disability community as an adult and really trying to help my brother navigate the community. I know what's available. And let's really think about what is the purpose of an IEP goal. We're really looking at preparing a child for further education, employment, and independent living. This is not something that we are creating to help a child keep up with other kids. This is not something that we are creating to make somebody meet a curriculum standard that might not make sense for them for long term. This is really our chance to individualize a child's experience inside of the school environment. So let's set the foundation by looking at idea law, which I'm not a lawyer. I'm not practicing the law right now, but I am going to tell you where to look inside the law. And we're going to start with the purpose and findings. Everybody knows that we're supposed to be providing a child with an education that is free and appropriate, right? We call it FAPE for short, FAPE, so free and appropriate public education. But also inside of that purpose and findings, it says that we need to meet a child's unique needs. So if you've ever heard before from an IEP team member that we don't do that here, right? When you're asking for something, when it comes to an IEP goal, I mean, we're just going to jump right into this, right? Like you're asking for an IEP goal, you want to work towards something and say, we don't do that here. I want you to feel really solid that meeting a child's unique needs is absolutely the purpose of an IEP goal. So if you're brainstorming something as we're going through these steps on how to write IEP goals, and you're thinking, I don't know if my school can do that, or they've never done this before, I know I'm going to get pushback. If it meets a child's unique needs, it's something that we need to discuss. Now, we need to meet their unique needs in order to prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. So we really need to get focused on not building an IEP to meet educational objectives in a traditional way. Meaning it's not about, like I said, keeping up with the curriculum or being like the other kids. This is about meeting unique needs and preparing for this child's individual needs to be prepared, set, ready for further education, employment, independent living, for whatever that looks like for them. So once we've set that foundation, then we can start to think about IEP goals and what needs to happen to meet the needs for further education, employment, and independent living. Now, I want to make it really clear that you are here because you want to learn about IEP goal writing for parents and teachers, but I'm not going to go over how to write the goal in a legal sense, meaning you can go Google how to write a SMART goal. You can go Google examples on what a good IEP goal looks like when it comes to the structure of it. We're going to talk about that higher level thought process of which IEP goals really need to be put into a child's IEP, because less can be more. Meaning that we don't necessarily need 25 IEP goals. Oh my goodness, please don't have 25 IEP goals in the document. We don't necessarily need 25 IEP goals to help a child be prepared for the future. We need a really strong foundation. But having been a special education teacher myself, I can tell you that we don't get a ton of advice or experience in how to choose good IEP goals. So if we have a student who is struggling in reading, there are a lot of things that we could work on when it comes to comprehension, for example. And how I write an IEP goal for comprehension, or which exact skill I want to focus on might be very different than another teacher who might have been in charge of writing that goal. That doesn't mean that either one of the goals are wrong. It just means that there are options in choosing. There's no one right IEP goal to help a child reach where they need to be prepared for further education, employment, and independent living. So I love to start in a totally different section when it comes to writing IEP goals, different than the actual IEP goals. And this is a section of the IEP that gets ignored a whole lot or not maximized a whole lot. And that's the parent educational concerns, parent input statement, parent vision statement. It's called something different in different paperwork. But the bottom line is no matter what state you're in, no matter what district you're working in, there's a section in the IEP for the parent to have input on what their thoughts are for their child's education. If we can nail down a really clear vision with parents on what they see for further education, employment, and independent living, on what their struggles are at home, on what their hopes and dreams and goals are for their child, then we can pick IEP goals that truly meet a child's unique needs, that truly are preparing them for the future. So let me give you an example. We love to travel as a family. So my brother being able to access different modes of transportation, everything from a plane, a train, a bus, being able to go on a cruise ship, to all these different things are super important for us as a family to be able to experience these things together. Now, the skills that it takes to do that absolutely can be worked on in school. So waiting in line, following directions, dealing with change of schedule. That's a huge one for travel. Okay. Being able to keep track of your belongings, to stay with your group. Those are all skills that are very natural inside of routines at school that will apply not just in school, but also long-term to meet the needs of what somebody like my brother who, is going to be in a family who likes to travel. They need to have those skills to do that. So there are some families that are going to be striving really hard for independent living outside of the home. Now, that's something that was not a priority for my parents. They knew that my brother would be living with them long term and that we'll find other solutions down the road. But when we were in IEP years, it was all about my brother being as independent as possible in his home with his family. That may not be your goal. That's okay. That's how we meet a child's unique needs and how we truly individualize IEP goals for both the short term and the long term. So inside of the document, there's this parent input statement. If you take nothing else away from today, I want you to be able to go to the IEP. And if you're a teacher, you need to do this for your students too. Go to your IEP, go look for that section and see what it says. And know that you can absolutely improve that section, which can completely change the direction and the focus of an IEP and the IEP goals that are going to have the most impact for a child's future. So we have the parent input section. That's step number one. Please, let's start there and see what does the family need from the school to help reach these long-term goals. And then we can use the expertise of the teacher and the speech therapist, the occupational therapist, physical therapist, social worker, the nurse, everybody. We can use the expertise to help a child get there. This means that we can absolutely address our academic needs, social emotional needs, communication, behavior. All of these different things can be put into the IEP and we can align them with the long-term outcomes that are needed. Now, when I say less is more, the second step that I want you to do is to go through the IEP and see what goals may not be necessary. Like you thought they were a good idea. They sounded good at the IEP table. You thought it through, but now that you're thinking about it in the way of preparing somebody for further education, employment, independent living, that we're looking at what the long-term goals are of the family and the individual, it may not make sense. And get ready to take out some IEPs. You know, inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, which if you guys don't know what a Master IEP Coach is, go hop over to masteriepcoach.com. But we focus a lot on making sure that the IEP goals are meaningful, and that often means reducing the amount of IEP goals inside of a document, because the IEP is not meant to hold every skill that a child needs to work on. It's meant to be a foundation to prepare the child for the future. So we need to build the foundation. Now, there are going to be a lot of things that a child learns throughout the school day that we're not going to measure. But inside of the IEP, we need to measure IEP goals. So we need to make sure that we're spending our time wisely, that we absolutely have prioritized the teacher's time and the student's time to make sure that we're taking data on the most important goals. And all of the other things that are going to happen naturally within the school day, we can notate some of them in the notes. We can make accommodations and modifications. We can communicate about them through a home to school communication log, but we really want to focus on important IEP goals that we need concrete data on. So we need to be able to sometimes take out the goals, but how do we make that decision on if a goal is important enough to keep it in, or find other goals that we might need to put in and add into the IEP? I've got 2 questions that I want you to ask yourself. If you are reading an IEP goal and you cannot think of 2 reasons that you need that goal yourself in your adult life, it's probably not a priority goal. Let me give you an example. If you've been around here for a while, you know where I'm going to go first. I'm going to start tackling this concept of money because it's so important, right? We want all children to be able to use their money skills to the best of their abilities. And there's a lot of focus on money when we get to math goals and IEPs. Now, there's a lot of special ed teachers that are not going to like me right now. I promise you, teachers, I'm with you. I want you to maximize your time. I want you to maximize your input with the child, your impact with the child. But you do not need goals to count penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters. You don't need it. Here's the thing. If I never touch a coin again, I can still be a completely independent person with my money. I don't need to touch coins. In fact, just yesterday, we went to the grocery store and somebody tried to pay in cash, and there wasn't the ability to give him back change, exact change. So he had to go run out to his car and go get 11 cents to bring it back into the store, and it held up the line. It was all this chaos when it came to paying with cash and money. Now, change. Does that mean that I don't want your child to learn about money? Nope, that's not what I'm saying. Does this mean that I don't want your child to be able to pay in cash? Nope, I'm all about cash if that's the route that you want to go. However, it is absolutely unnecessary to count penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters in a store. And understanding money with penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters is not going to really help with budgeting, because in our world today, we need to work with 1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s and higher. We need to understand things like greater than, less than. So we understand what's in our cart costs $25 and I only have $20 in my bank account. Which one is greater? Can I buy this? We need to understand rounding and estimating. We need to understand the dollar up method so we know to anticipate how much things are going to cost with tax. We need to really work at money at a bigger level because we're living in a digital world versus penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters. Now, this does not mean that if the teacher wants to do a penny, nickel, dime, and quarter worksheet, hands-on, use manipulatives, whatever that is with a student, that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying don't do it. What I'm saying is don't take data on it. Don't make it a goal in the sense, you can take data, but I'm saying don't take it in the sense of an IEP goal for making progress with money inside of the context of the IEP. We've got bigger things to worry about than penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters. This goes for telling time also. I'm still seeing a lot of IEP goals that are written with a standard clock, our analog clock, big hand and little hand. All right, that's how my brother learned how to tell time, big hand and little hand. He wears a watch that has an analog face on it. And if I ask him what time it is, he will look at his watch and say, it's 2:15. And then he will pick up his phone and double check. Oh yeah, it's 2:15. Because we all carry our devices with us. We all have a digital support. Again, I'm not saying that you can't have the, you know what? I'm going to stop here just for 1 second and share with you guys that there's a lot of spam in the comments right now. I'm going to encourage you to not click on any links. I want to make sure that you guys know that is not us that's doing that. And I've got some people behind the scenes that are working right now to take down those comments, but please do not click on those links. There's just some social media spam that is hitting us up right now. You guys can put your comments, your questions below. I absolutely will answer them. Just don't click on any of those links from anybody because that's not us that's putting that in there. Okay. On that side note, I just want to make sure everybody understands that's not us down there. Let's go back to the analog and digital clock. If the teacher wants to teach the analog clock, that's great. She wants to take some data on it. That's great. But that's not data that necessarily needs to be reported in the context of an IEP goal. So that's the first question that I want you to ask. If you're looking at an IEP goal and you can't think of 2 reasons that you need that skill on a regular basis as an adult, that is not a priority skill to be in an IEP. Now, the second question that I want you to ask yourself is, has the child been working on, oh, somebody just says, I was thinking about doing that. Taking things out? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can take some things out. So has a child been working on a skill for 2 years and they're not reaching their goals, they're not making progress, it may be time to reconsider that goal. Now, that can mean a couple of things. It can mean put the goal on pause, as in make a note about it and put it in the IEP that we're going to come back to this IEP goal at a different time. Like remove it as a goal, but don't forget about it. Like we can come back to it later. All right. Or is it something that we need to break down in a different way because it's just not working? So I want you to really think about it from your own perspective. If you were going to work, and you were working on a project for 2 years and you weren't getting anywhere on it, and you had a lot of different people telling you a lot of different things about how to get this project done, but it was so frustrating. Maybe you didn't have the foundational skills to achieve it. Maybe you just weren't ready to get there, to get that project done. Wouldn't it be frustrating to show up to work? Wouldn't you eventually just want to quit, right? You'd be like, I'm going to bite and kick and scream and leave and not show up to work. And I don't want to participate and I don't want to talk to my coworkers because I'm just upset. So we wouldn't want to do that. We wouldn't want to go to work for 2 years and constantly fail. So why do we leave IEP goals in the IEP year after year after year after year without rethinking? Should we break it down? Should we change the methodology? Should we put it on pause and come back to it and see if we're ready maybe in 6 months to approach this again? But give the child a break. Who has ever worked on a project, got stuck, walked away, and when you came back, the solution was like there? It was like your brain was ready to figure it out. That happens to students too. So it's okay that if a child's been working on a goal over and over and over again, and they're not making progress and they're becoming more frustrated, it's okay to make adjustments. You don't always have to keep pushing forward in the same way all the time. So we have Angela who's down there, and she just said that in the comments, she just said that she's so excited that she just joined the special ed inner circle. So I want to encourage you guys that if you're hearing this and you're thinking, I wish somebody could just look at my IEP goals real quick, or I have a question about the IEP goals, or I want to talk to a master IEP coach about this IEP goal. That all happens inside of the special ed inner circle. So I'm going to answer as many questions as possible below in the comments today. However, you can get some individualized attention when you first join the inner circle. You can have a one-on-one call or a Zoom meeting with a master IEP coach. That's at specialedinnercircle.com. And then you become a special education insider, and you're going to love it. You're going to love the community. Can you do this later with a person speaking Spanish? I can tell you right now that you could hop onto myiepcoach.com, and I have 2 master IEP coaches that speak Spanish. One is Sandy, who's located in California, and we have Wanda, who's located in Illinois. I believe Bernie, also, who is located in California, she speaks Spanish also, I believe. So Jocelyn, you can find Spanish-speaking resources at Bernie. I'm just going to give you, you're going to have to write it down, okay? So we've got Bernie in California, I've got Sandy in California, I've got Wanda in Illinois that can absolutely help you out with some Spanish-speaking resources and help you out with these concepts. They are all trained master IEP coaches and they use this master IEP coach method to help with IEP goals. Okay, so you've asked yourself 2 questions. Oh, and I just saw Wanda's down there in the comments. Wanda, please go ahead and reach out to Jocelyn so she makes sure that she has that resource. So the 2 questions, it's, do I use this myself in at least 2 different situations? And then, has my child been working on this or my student been working on this for 2 years? Here's Amanda who's saying, I had coin counting goals and analog clock goals removed from my son's IEP last year, and the teachers and school district were so resistant, and I still don't really know why. Because it's old habits, okay? Inside of the Master IEP Coach mentorship, we talk about old school versus new school, and there's old school habits. So, when I went to school a very, very long time ago to become a special education teacher, it was all about following the curriculum and starting from, making sure that you're starting from the foundation. The foundation of money has always been taught with penny, nickels, dimes, and quarters. The foundation of time telling has always been taught with an analog clock. Curriculum, and quite honestly, common sense for schools has not caught up to our digital world. So there's resistance to it, and there's some ego in that sometimes. And again, teachers, I was one of you. I understand you. I get it. Sometimes letting go of things, you're like, but this was good. This was working. But is it a priority? And it's okay to switch things up. It's okay to be a pioneer and say, no more. I'm going to work on it in my classroom, but I'm not going to take data on it in the same way I would for an IEP goal. So we have some questions that are not IEP goal related. Mercedes, I see you down there. I will get to that in just a minute. I'm going to wrap up this last tip right here, and that's data collection and sharing. Once you've decided which IEP goals you're going to work on, and by the way, which IEP goals you're working on and how you're working on them, as long as that's written clearly, in my opinion, is more important than if it's been written exactly correctly according to kind of the details that are taught in a lot of different, if you Google how to write an IEP goal, they're teaching, it's specific and measurable and actionable. And that's absolutely right. We need all of that. We need all of those details in there. All right. But if we need to get creative and add in a few more details and really individualize that IEP goal, and it looks a little bit different than a standard format, that is okay, as long as it is clearly communicated what the child is working on, how they're working on it, where they're starting from, where they're going, and how we're going to measure it. That's so important. But measuring it is not enough. How we're going to share that data, how we're going to communicate about progress is so very important. It is absolutely key that parents understand tally marks of raw data of how somebody is tracking, what is happening, how many prompts were given, how much support was there, what the environment is like. All of those are factors that we need to communicate. So we're in a unique time right now where we're doing remote learning. This is still important. right now, parents are the data collectors. So helping parents collect data is critical. It does not have to be complicated. It can be integrated into the routine of doing the task, meaning if you just need to video your child doing a task so the teacher can see what's happening and take some logs of that observation and write down where your child is at and how they're going to help them move forward, that is absolutely okay. So again, if you have IEP questions, go ahead and post them below. I'm going to review these real quick. We want to make sure that all IEP goals are rooted in the foundation of IDEA law, which is to provide an appropriate education, but also to meet a child's unique needs, to prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living, not to keep up with the other kids or to just meet the needs of the curriculum, but to truly individualize this experience. We need to make sure that we don't have unnecessary IEP goals inside of the document, that we're prioritizing them, and we're prioritizing them based on the parent input statement, that we really understand what the long-term goals are of the family and what's going to fit their needs in helping their child achieve as much as possible in those categories of further education, employment, independent living, which includes social, emotional, communication, behavioral, academics, and all of the things that it takes to support a child moving forward and reaching their potential. And then we also want to make sure that we're very clear in our data collection, not just how we're going to collect it, but how are we going to share it in between our home and school environments to make sure that we're all on the same page of what's working, what's not working, and how we're going to move forward. With that, we're going to grab, Mercedes had a question. Let me find it here. She says, can a school district change a one-on-one aide and give you a new aide? Is that allowed? So there's nothing saying that it's not allowed anywhere. So I'm always looking at the other side. Is it in writing that they can't change a one-on-one aide? No. So now, could you have something? My guess is, Mercedes, something happened that your child has a one-on-one aide, that aide was switched, and nobody told you. Now, that happens quite a bit, and that's not treating you as an equal IEP team member. As an equal IEP team member, you should have all of the same information that the other team members have. So if a team member has been switched, it would be important for you to be informed. So inside of the supports, accommodations, modifications, or somewhere in the notes of the plan, it would have to be notated that if there is a staff change, that could be anything from a substitute teacher for the day or an aide being changed, that you would be notified in writing, and that the new person will be trained to work with your child. Because a lot of times there's a switch up and it's just not effective for the child because the person hasn't been trained. Then the child struggles. The parent doesn't know what's happening. There's a big spiral that happens when that happens without being notified. Let's see. We have Angela who said, I need to remove my only 3 goals that we've had for 4 years. They're not working for him, and this is not a priority. But we're starting distance learning. Awesome, Angela. So that's great. So you're getting a really clear plan of priority, not priority. We're going to be distance learning. What do we need to switch up? And then, Angela, make sure that you go to your parent input statement of your IEP and make sure that that reflects what you need. Because you're a member of the inner circle, of course, we can walk you through those next steps of what you need to do to get that section updated when you are ready. So we have Joanna who says, can you cite the legal areas that cover changing an aide? There's not. So Joanna, what I'm stating is the actual. Now, remember, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not giving you legal advice, but I am sharing with you that it absolutely says that a parent needs to be an equal IEP team member. So if there's changes made without the parent knowing, that doesn't mean that the parent approves. All right. But big changes like that shouldn't be happening without the parent knowing. But sometimes we have to clarify that communication needs to happen, and really nailing down that communication plan between home and school can build trust and really improve a child's education. So as for legal, there's not going to be anything specific in that. But as for the higher level concept of why it needs to be done, absolutely. All right. Nathan says, he's from Iowa City. As a student, I've not yet had the chance to participate in writing an IEP. What are some tips you have for new teachers who are afraid of stepping on the toes of parents or senior colleagues in IEP meetings? Okay, so Nathan, I love this perspective because you're just like, I want to participate. I want to be of value. How do I do this best as a newbie on the IEP team? One is this parent input statement that I just talked about is huge. When I have people who come through the Master IEP Coach mentorship and they've been in education for 18 plus years, they've never focused on that area. And they're kind of like, why didn't I? Why didn't I just make my life easier and really communicate with the parents on what's needed and help them focus on really getting together this vision of preparing a child for the future and further education, employment, independent living, even as a kindergartner? Because I talked about goals of like counting money. Like we don't need to do that at kindergarten age because that's not relevant now for many and it's not going to be relevant later for many. Now, are money concepts like counting super important at kindergarten age and moving forward? Absolutely. But that parent input statement, so you will never step on a parent's toes if you ask them for their input and help them really be part of the design of that IEP. When it comes to your more senior colleagues, respect their wisdom of experience and then be bold and do things differently when they need to be done differently. Meaning you don't have to fall into their old patterns, and it's okay to, you can respect somebody's wisdom and input and methodology of doing things and do things your own way. So I have a huge hope for the next generation of teachers that are coming out of school right now. There are first generation of you are first generation of teachers who have truly been trained in the digital world, right? You have technology everywhere. It's part of your lifestyle. You can learn things faster. You've got more resources at your fingertips than we ever had as us, senior colleagues that we are. So you have a benefit of really changing special education outcomes quickly. And don't get frustrated. Oh, you're going to get frustrated. Don't give up when kind of the old timers at the table give you some pushback, and that's not how we do things here. You stick with it, get creative. And again, you respect their ideas, you integrate them when you can, and you continue to do things differently by partnering with the parents in that whole process. You're going to be okay. You're going to be more than okay. So welcome to the field, Nathan. We have Anna who says, my son is only working on social and behavioral issues and not having an IEP help for schoolwork. No para. How can I kindly and effectively communicate that this is also what he needs? They took the para out. So here's the thing. I don't ever directly advocate for a para in that way. What I want to know is, what are we trying to achieve with your son and what supports are needed to get there? It may be a para, it may not be. But if you're saying that we need additional progress to be made in academics, we need data. We need the team to agree on that data that was collected, that there's a deficit. Then we have to figure out how to best address that deficit, and that may or may not be with a para. Anna, if you're not already a member of the Inner Circle, I'd love to have you come join us in there so we can help work through those next of the documentation. There's a certain way that you need to do these requests to make sure that it's done in a timely manner, even through the virus crisis. It can be done in a timely manner. So we have Mirage here who says, I'm needing help with almost everything for my nonverbal 9-year-old son at doing the homeschooling and the therapies. Doesn't know how to go about it. Is there any advice or steps? Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of things that you can do to jump in. And I don't want you to get overwhelmed. Inside of the Special Ed Inner Circle, I'm going to really encourage you to come in there. You get a video library that you can watch at your own pace. So everything from the parent input training to IEP goals to writing advocacy letters. And by the way, teachers, you're invited into the Inner Circle too, because these are all things that all team members can get really good at. And it's super important. Then you also get to ask specific questions inside of our private Facebook group. So you can learn more things step by step at your own pace in a very structured, easy way, bite-sized chunks without getting overwhelmed. And then you can ask your questions inside of there also. All right, Anna, Anna, go ahead. You can email us, Anna, at hello@katherinewitcher.com, and we can get you help over there on accessing everything. All right, everyone. I'm Super excited that you were here today learning all about IEP goals. I hope that I've helped you flip your perspective, think about IEP goals differently, that it's not just about the structure, that they're written well. It's you can have a well-written IEP goal and it could still be the wrong IEP goal for a child to reach their potential. So think about what can you do to actually simplify this IEP process that can help make it more effective for your child or for your students. Again, you can find us over at masteriepcoach.com or specialedinnercircle.com. I hope to continue to work with you guys inside of those programs. And I'll be back here real soon talking all about remote learning plans and what they're looking like across the country, what should be in them, what shouldn't be in them, and how to make changes when you need to. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.